Welcome to From the Ground Up. This podcast is about creating a strong foundation for building a life, a family, a business, and everything that goes into making it last. Let's get into it. Welcome back to From the Ground Up. This is episode 2, and I am excited to have with us today Lauren, who is the COO of my company, Evolution General Contracting. She's been with me for over 2 years. She started in the company when there was 6 employees. Today we're at 28, and she has played a huge role in that growth. And today's episode is going to be about the key exec, that number 2 role, and how important it is as a business owner to have that partner in crime to help you on the daily with everything that comes up. So before we start, I'm going to let Lauren introduce herself so you can get to know her a little better. Lauren?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I guess I'll start with, after high school, I went to Stony Brook University. I went there as a business major.
I went to Stony Brook also.
I originally started at Syracuse University. I was a journalism major and wanted to be a sportscaster. But at the time, I was a different person. I was a little bit more timid and insecure, and I was just having a hard time transitioning to being away at school. So I kind of revamped everything, and I ended up at Stony Brook, which I really did enjoy. I got my business degree and then ended up getting my MBA there too. So I actually started working full time while I was still in school with my undergrad.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, I actually worked with my dad for a long time. So he was a managing director with MetLife Insurance Company, and I got into that business and I started the role in a recruiting coordinator. So I was onboarding people, and I did stuff that I had no idea what I was doing, basically. But I learned different roles within that organization and moved up so that when the time came for my dad to move to a different company and he needed an operations manager, he just asked if I was interested, because at that time I had proven that I was capable. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was 23, and I was in the financial services business for almost 17 years altogether. So, and then in 2024, I found myself here, and it's been great. It's been interesting for sure.
And it's a company, an industry that you had never been a part of before.
Right. So I was definitely nervous coming in. I knew what I knew very well, but coming in and learning something from scratch, it takes time. You don't learn everything overnight. And I still obviously don't know everything, but it's nice every day to learn something new, be aware of the different roles within the organization. You don't need to be an expert in everything to be in my position, but you definitely need to have a good understanding of the roles. And I think that—
And of construction in general.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the first couple of weeks I was here, I was like, what's the order of how you do a project? Because I had no idea. And now I can recite it the back,
mm-hmm.
the back of my hand. Mm-hmm. So it's been interesting and fun to learn something new. And I every day still learning.
Yep. But that's great.
Yeah.
I feel like when you stop learning is when you stop growing.
Yep.
And I think that that's not a great place to be as an individual. So you always want to be learning. Yep. So here where you learn a lot every day. And I've been in the construction industry for 20 years and I'm still learning every day.
Yep. And things change. And yeah.
So I just wanted to bring up that 17 years you were in the financial industry, mm-hmm. and then made a career change. Mm-hmm. So I just think that that's a bold move, and I'm excited, mm-hmm. and I'm so glad you made it, because now we're together.
Yeah.
And just for everybody listening, another example of someone who made a career change, mm-hmm. left everything behind, and it paid off.
Yeah.
And I just want other people to take that risk like you did and not be afraid.
Yeah, definitely. It's always scary when you're in a position you're finding something new and you've never done it before, but it's worth it because I wasn't thrilled where I was. I'll be honest. It wasn't what I really wanted mm-hmm. to do. And, sometimes you get tired of the same old. Mm-hmm. So I wanted something fresh and new, but it's also at the same time scary, but I'm happy.
Good. I'm glad. And I'm happy to have you. So people always ask me what it's like running a business, but they rarely think about the person that's helping me run it, which is you in this case. Mm-hmm. So what do you think makes our relationship work?
I think that, from your perspective as a business owner, you want to find a person who wants to be a number two, because sometimes people think they do, but they're not necessarily really ready for that role, whether they want to be a number one, they want to be something else. But for me, it's a very natural position. I'm like a helper, and I like to be, I like to make sure things are moving. And so for me, I think it's just a very natural position to be like, what can I do to help? What can I take off your plate? And I think that's why I got to where I was in my other career. I'm sure my coworkers didn't love this, but when I was done with my work, I would go to my supervisor and be like, what else can I do? I don't want to sit at my desk all day and do nothing. So I was always looking for more. And I think that's helped me. And I think that you have to find a person who wants to be in that role. And, I think also, when you're looking for a number two, you have to find somebody that you actually genuinely like. If you don't like the person, it's not going to work.
No.
So I think that's nice, because I think we like each other. Right?
Oh, we love each other. This is great. Because you're interacting with that person all day, every day. And you have to not only like them, but you have to find somebody that you have 1000% trust in, because the things that I can't handle because I'm busy doing this, then I leave to you. I trust that you're going to handle it. The decisions that have to get made when I'm busy making different decisions, I trust, your decisions and everything that you would do, because we are so aligned. So you have to find somebody that you're aligned with.
Yeah. And I think just like the way that we work and the way we are, we both move quickly. We both like to get things done. We both just are on the same wavelength with a lot of things. So we're just like keep pushing and keep going. And I think like that's a big thing. If like I was slow, if I was, worked slower, it probably wouldn't work for you. And it's, so I think that it works out well, because I'm, we're right there with each other as far as like keeping up with each other,
No, it's good. It's good. So what advice would you give a business owner who's looking for their right-hand person? We touched on a few things.
Yeah. I think the one thing I didn't mention was like, you want to have, and I think we do, like just similar values and like what you are looking for, not just professionally, but personally too. Like, you and I both are, very into working out and taking care of ourselves, having goals outside of work. And I think that's important. But just even in work, like we have alignment in like what we see and what we want for the future. And if the values aren't the same, that's also going to be just like a red flag for something not to work in the future.
And if you can finish each other's sentences or email each other exactly what you were thinking, but just one of us hadn't gotten to it yet, then you have the right number two.
Yeah, exactly.
So we know we're both very into our work. We're very passionate about our careers and growing, but we're also both moms. We both have 2 kids, and that is a unique feature of our lives to deal with, as we're trying to build our careers. So the whole working mom thing, do you think balance actually exists?
I think on a day-to-day basis, no. Like there's going to be days where I work later and then I get home and my kids are, already showered, and like that's okay. And I used to kind of beat myself up about it or think like I need to do more here, I need to do more there. But I think I've just you have to make choices and you have to learn to be okay with them. Your kids are going to be okay. And I think the biggest thing is that as long as your kids know that you love them, feel that love, and that's the most important thing. But it is hard some days. And then some days I'm also able to do things that I couldn't do if I didn't have some flexibility that, you allow all of your employees to have when it comes to, especially with their children. So if I need to leave a little early to get somewhere, it's okay. And that's perfectly fine. So, I think it's hard to have balance on a day-to-day, but overall, I think you make it work. And being present with your kids when you are with them is, and I'm not the best at that all the time, but I just know that that's something I'm always working towards is being more present and doing more things without a phone nearby or without checking emails for work. But yeah, I think it's not really... I think the idea of balance on a day-to-day basis is probably just not practical to be thinking about. But, you want to have time with just your kids, and you want to have time where you can devote to your work. And not every person, it's building a career is not for everybody. Some women don't want to do that, and that's great. Like you knowing what you want, I think, is the first step. And then just, when you figure out what you want, just being okay with that and not allowing anybody else to get in the way of your, how you feel about what you want.
Yep. I love that. I agree with that 100%. And I think that, you got to just keep moving through life your way. Right. It is your life. It's nobody else's. Yeah. So yes, if that's the way that, you choose to run your life and be a mom and be in your career and grow in a career, and we're going to get to your hobbies and everything, and then you choose to spend time working out and doing your own activities as an individual. Yep. If you choose to live your life that way, then it is. Own it and run with it. And if you're happy at the end of the day with everything you chose to do, then keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've always wanted to work. I mean, I know it sounds a little silly sometimes, but I like to work. I want to be doing something where I'm being productive, that I'm, contributing towards something that's bigger than just me, that it's not just about a paycheck. So it's really like feeling like I'm doing something, and that it's making a difference. And whether it's one person's lives or millions of lives, and, I just want to be, I like to work. And that's what it comes
that's
down
good.
to.
I don't think that's silly at all. Yeah. I love to work. And I feel fulfilled. And when I feel fulfilled, I also think it makes me a better mom when I'm with my kids, because I'm happy as an individual. So I think that's the key to being a good parent. And like you said, if you're happy and you don't have a career, then that's good. Yeah. But if you are looking for, and you're in a career, then, and that makes you happy where you are, then keep doing it. And I think it makes you a better person all around.
Yep. Go all in.
Yep. So what's something about being a working mom that people don't talk about enough?
That's a good question. One I did not think of a good answer for. I think, I think like that, the fact that balance really doesn't exist, and that you do have to make some choices. I call them choices, not sacrifices.
Yes, I like that a lot, that you've been saying that on purpose. I could tell. Yeah. I like that word.
Yeah, because I think that you have to, it's not about like being everywhere for your kids all the time. And maybe for some people that is. For me, it's not. And my kids, I want them to see what it's like to have a career and to be able to also maintain a family and maintain like my own personal, life and things, because that's what I hope for them. So I don't really I think it's like actually acknowledging and being okay with the fact that there's not going to be balance, and also just being okay with having to make choices and not necessarily thinking of them as sacrifices.
I love that you're saying that, because you could, if having a career and moving up in your career is one of your goals and passions, then it's the same thing. You're sacrificing that. And I agree. I don't feel like in my life I'm sacrificing anything. Yeah. I'm choosing where I want to be at what time, how many hours I want to put into whatever it is during the day. And that makes me happy. I figured out where I want to allocate my time that makes me happy. I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. And I feel fulfilled in each element of my life. Yeah. So I like that. Yeah. Make choices, not sacrifices. What do you hope you talked about this a little. What do you hope your kids learn from watching you work?
Just that I want them to, make choices that make them, make decisions that make them happy. If they want to, if my daughter wants to, work and that be the only thing that she really wants to focus on, and not necessarily have a family, that's fine. I just want them to be able to know that they have all these choices and they can make the decisions that make them truly happy. Because I think our generation was still kind of stuck in some like traditional norms and like we've had to get out of them. And, a lot of people that where I live a lot of women don't work. And, so I think that also some of the kids, they notice that it's like this mom doesn't, this mom does. And as my kids are getting older, I'm sure they're starting to see differences in family dynamics and lives and how everybody operates. But I just want them to know that they have all the choices in the world, and they should do the thing that makes them happy.
And I like how you said non-traditional roles that we are working on getting out of that, because I think that too. And I have 2 daughters that I don't think the necessary next step to life after school or during school is finding, you know, a partner, finding a boyfriend, finding, and then getting married and then having kids. Like, I think it's okay if that you find yourself longer. I think it's hard at such a young age. And I think that that would help a lot of people in this world is if you spent more time finding yourself, because at 18, like you said, you were a different person. Everybody is. Everybody's a different person at 18 as they are at 25, 30, 35, 40. And I just think that finding themselves, finding a solid friend base that can change after school, finding a passions, careers, hobbies. I think finding all of that is, I think, the priority. And that's what I want to show my kids, that, you know, it's not all about being just in a relationship. It's about yourself. And then I think, like I've said before in this podcast, that once you are happy with yourself, then I think you can be successful in all the parts of your life. And
I think it is changing. I think that the younger generations are not necessarily looking, and I which is great. I think that it's important, like you said. It was more, you know, I guess, you know, the way it was, where you, even if you did go to college, right after you were in a relationship in college, and then you got married to the person that you were with. And now it's like people are prolonging those, you know, relationships, or, you know, not getting married right away, and like, or just, you know, not even getting married and having families. And so I think there's just so many different ways to do everything. And you just have to find the way that works for you. And that's it.
I agree. I like that. What's something you wish another working mom had told you years ago?
I think that I would, it's hard because growing up, I didn't have a lot of working moms around me to like make the, you know, but at the same time, like the people that I went to high school with, like everybody was going to college and everybody was going to get a degree. And pretty much every single person that I went to college with has their own career, like the people that I was friends with, at least. So, but a lot of the moms still didn't work. So I don't know. I really didn't have, years ago, I can't even imagine like what somebody would have said to me. I guess really the same things we've been saying. It's just like, find what you like, find what you know, what you love, make decisions that make you happy, and just go for it. Because I think personally, I did the things in my 20s that I thought were like the right thing to do. And, you know, ultimately they led to some wonderful things, but also, you know, if I could go back, I would have had more fun in my 20s and done a little bit more of like that soul searching and figuring out who I am and what I wanted. So yeah, that's, I guess, something I would say. Yeah.
No, I feel it. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to do this podcast and do the social media. I was never into social media, but my main reason for doing that is because I want other women to see me, see us, see everything that is happening at this company in my life, because I didn't have an example from other people. I feel like I didn't have a lot of women to look up to. I feel like a lot of the role models that were portrayed were men when we were growing up. And now definitely there's more women out there that I'm so happy to see. I love Sarah Blakely, Serena Williams. There's a lot of them now, Lindsey Vonn, that I watch, and I like to see what they're doing and the success that they've had. And that's been great to see. But when we were growing up, that didn't exist.
Not at the same level as today, for sure.
Exactly. So the social media has helped in that way, because otherwise I don't know how much I would know about Sarah, about Serena. And, you know, she's a perfect example of having a career, having kids, then coming back. I love seeing that. That's happening more and more now, which is great to see. So because we're doing this while raising kids, which is a very difficult task to do, but we do it. And I want other people to see that. And the one thing that I would add that we touched on earlier is not being afraid to make a career change. Because the chances of you being in a career that you love either going to college for it or getting that job right out of college is slim to none.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
do not know. It's very hard to know what you want to do at such a young age.
Yeah.
So not being afraid to make a career change and trying different things until you find what you're happy and doing that early on in life.
Yeah.
And keep doing it until you're happy.
Yep.
That's one thing I want other people to hear and think about and hopefully do.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing I was thinking about when we were talking about something I wish a working mom had told me earlier in my career. It started making me think about when I was first in an office setting and how I worked for two different women at a couple different times, but then basically all the people I worked for were men. But the women in those leadership roles are different than I think women are today. And by that, I mean, like, there's just a lot of more women in leadership. So there's different leadership styles among a lot of different women. Whereas back 20 years ago now, I think it was difficult to get into leadership roles back, even 20 years ago, and how they had to be a certain way. And I felt like they were a little bit harder and not as comforting and nurturing, and didn't really want to. It was different. I don't know what the feeling was, but I never felt very, I didn't really feel comfortable with women, honestly, because I felt like they were like mean. And it wasn't, and maybe it was also just me being, new and young and just didn't know any better. But I think now, as more women are in leadership roles, you're going to see a lot of different women and their styles, and not everyone's going to have the same style. So I was just thinking about that before. Because
you worked for all men.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Yeah. It's totally different because as much as they can be nice and all that, like, they're never going to understand what it's like to be a woman or a woman who has two children and working full time. So they'll just never understand that. They can say, like, I get it, I understand, but they don't get it. They don't understand.
No, it's very, if you haven't lived it and don't live it daily, it is hard to fully understand that.
And that's why, it was intriguing coming here to be working for a woman who's like basically the same age, has kids the same age, so I was excited about that. And seeing like different ways of leading is really interesting also. And, it's obviously helped shape my leadership style as well. Obviously experiences from back then through now, but working for another woman's been fun.
Over the few years of working together, something that I've learned about you that I want you to share with everybody is your morning daily routine. So people see how much you get done in a day, but they don't see everything that happens before the workday even starts. So I want you to talk about that.
So like you, being a working mom, you have to be super intentional about all your time. It's hard to leave things up to chance, because if you leave it up to chance, it's not going to get done. And when I say that, I mean things like working out or meal prepping and things like that. It's just not going to happen unless you make it happen and make it part of your daily life. So I'd say about 10 years ago, I started, I've always worked out in the morning and done some sort of exercise, but I really developed a morning routine that set me up for the day, because I think rolling out of bed, jumping in the shower and yelling at the kids to try to get them out of bed and get off to work is not the best way for me to mentally start my day. I needed that time for myself. So yes, it's sometimes not great waking up at between 4:45 and 5 every morning, but I do that because I want to have that quiet time. So usually I wake up around 4:45. I, take my supplements, drink water, and then I typically will try to read for a little bit. And sometimes I'm reading a nonfiction book, something that's of interest to me. Sometimes I'm reading a fiction book, whatever it is. And then I work out. I work out every single day. And I know I have to be done by this time to make sure that I get my kids out of the door, out the door, and then myself to work. But having that time is it's my sacred time. And there's times when, one of my kids will be waking up early at the same time as me. I'll be like, go back to bed. And they're like, no, we want to be with you, Mom. And I'm like, oh gosh. Cause I really, that time is just really important to me. And, obviously it's fine that it's not always like that, but 9 times out of 10, it's like that. And it's just a really important part of my day. And it gives me the mental clarity, and it just gives me that time to be like, this is for me. I need to do this for me, not just for my physical health, but my mental health. And it just goes into that idea of like, I'm not always working. I'm not always doing stuff for myself. I'm not always doing stuff for my kids. I try to keep my life as, as balanced as possible, even if it doesn't look like that on a day-to-day basis. But I make that time for myself. And I think that's really important. And I see a lot of women say like, how do you do it? I think people with less time can get more done sometimes because if you have all this time in the day, it's hard to really get things done. You think like, I can do it later. I can do it later. But when you have X amount of hours in the morning, like that's what I have. And I got to get out the door at 7, whatever time it is. And that's, so I have to make it happen. So it's just something that it's ingrained in who I am now. It's not a, when I wake up, like, should I snooze or should I, nope. It's just, I get up. So I think that's, just having that diligence every single day is a big part of who I am. And also just allows me to show up here and be the best person I can be here. And I don't think anybody finishes a workout with a bad attitude. Like you finish it, you're excited, you're happy, and I have energy. I mean, by 2 p.m. sometimes I want a nap, but that's okay. But yeah, I think it's just a really important part of not just like, it's who I am now. It's not what I do, it's who I am. It's just part of me.
When you decided you wanted to start this routine and waking up, what did the day you said you were going to start, did you start? Was it hard to get into that routine? I'm a morning person. So like, to me, like I've never been like this person who's going to like go out at like 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock. I'm a morning person. So it was not as difficult for me as it might be for other people to start waking up at 4:45. But I think that, it also, you can make excuses. There's days when, especially when my kids were very little, and this started around like when my son was born, my first. So, there were days when he didn't sleep great and I could have just like turned, and just like not gotten up, but I really have, and I can't think back to be like how many times I actually hit the snooze button, but I'm sure I did, but I made it a part of who I am. And it's just like no turning back. This is just what I do. So, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
How many marathons have you run?
I think 4 now. I can't, it's hard. Now I'm getting hard to keep track, but I think
which is a good thing.
Yeah. I think 4 full marathons. Yep. So
Lauren and I will be doing a doubles high rocks next year.
Yes.
So
I'm excited about that because I've never done it. And,
I've done a high rocks.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a marathon.
Yeah.
And together we're going to be a good team. I
think so.
Start meeting her on the weekends to run more. That's my downside. I need to run more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It really is. And you should be very proud of that because that solid work ethic that I see in you every day, it's not a surprise that you have that same work ethic in your personal life for your personal well-being.
Yeah.
And I think that makes you even more of a well-rounded person. Like I talked about before, a better person in everything you do.
And I think it's also important to, like, my kids just see me do it and I don't complain about exercise. I love to do it. I love to get up and exercise. And I don't want them to ever think of it as a chore because listen, they don't have to do it the way I do it. They don't have to run or do weight training, but to move your body, I think is so important. In this day and age, we all know people tend to be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? They just sit at desks all day or sit and watch their devices all day. So like, I want my kids to be, just look at that as like the norm. So and that's what my mom did. I remember my mom running on a treadmill.
You're right. My mom did too. 5 miles a day on her treadmill.
Yeah. So I remember that. And I'm just like, I want my kids to just think of that's the normal. That's what, you should do, but you should take care of yourself. And it's good for you, again, not just physically, but mentally to keep yourself.
I agree. And obviously you've been doing that for years. And when you came into the company, you saw here that I have my trainer come to train all of us throughout the week because I think it is extremely important physically and mentally.
Yeah.
So, that's been great because I do think you had your mom do it, which was a great role model for you in that aspect. But I think that a lot of women struggle to find time for themselves. So here, and then they lose the understanding of how important it is. So here, that's it. Like we work out and I want everybody to just stop working, work out. And I think it's been helping a lot of people here. And it's been reminding them of the importance of that for themselves.
Yeah.
So, which I'm very happy to see.
Yeah, and it's fun for team building and just
definitely.
like, we're all locked in all day, and then to take that 45 minutes or an hour to be, working out together, it's nice because we don't sit and just chill out all the day.
I know.
So it's nice to have that time. And, just another note on that is that I know some people struggle to find time, and I call bullshit.
I know, I agree with you.
We all have 24 hours in a day. We're all super busy. And some people have more resources than others, but there's so many like free options to use. Like I will sometimes just Google a YouTube video of like an upper body workout, a 20-minute, like there's things that you can do. And so I think it's important to just like not think of time, you don't need to do 45 minutes or an hour or 2 hours of working out a day. You can do something. You can move your body for 30 minutes. You could just march around your house, for instance.
Just walk outside.
Exactly. There's so many options that people can do these days, which is great.
I agree with you. I think it's just an excuse to not have the time.
Yeah.
Because we're very busy and we find the time.
Right.
So
exactly. Wake up at 4:45.
Exactly. No, you could. There's always a way, or incorporate it like I did.
Right.
I was struggling finding the time, so I just brought it to during the day with everybody, and that's when I work out.
And it helps you hold yourself accountable to do it. If you know that you're having your trainer come and your employees are working out with, you got to be down there too.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I love it. How has being part of a women-led company been different from other experiences that you've had?
Well, like we were saying before, it's different working for, males versus a female. And I haven't had too many experiences working for female leaders, but working for males, and again, these are the people that I worked for. Obviously, everybody's different. It's just, they're just never going to understand the things that we go through on a day-to-day basis. In today's world, I think that men are stepping up a lot, but I still think that in most situations, that the woman still does more in the home, whether or not she's working, if she's working. So I think that while it's getting better for a lot of women who work, it's not 50-50 yet. They may be better, but it's not 50-50. So I think that men who have either a wife who works or a wife who is at home, either way, they can't understand. I mean, you can never put yourself in somebody else's shoes. A man can't put themselves in a woman's shoes and vice versa, but they certainly won't understand the struggles of, what it's like.
Yep.
At the, most times if the nurse's office calls,
I was just going to say that.
They call the mom first. And, I obviously work further from my house than my kid's father, but, I'm answering the phone. And the minute my phone rings and I see at the school, there's no, I don't care who I'm with, what I'm doing, I answer the phone. And I think it's just, so it's just different.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. And here, it happens to me. My kids are at school. They forgot something. They forgot their homework, or they needed a water bottle. Anything. They have to get picked up from school. They have a doctor appointment, whatever it is. But these interruptions happen. And that's just part of daily life as being a working mom. And so, I've been in the middle of meetings and the school called and I'm like, I have to go. I'm like, just come in the car with me. We'll keep the meeting going. I'll run into the school, drop off what I need to, and come back. But I just want women here to not feel embarrassed, not try to hide it. Like, that's it. I get it.
Right.
And we handle what we have to handle. And if someone has to leave early, there's just this mutual understanding that do what you have to do. And then everybody takes care of their work the same way I do.
Right.
The same way you talked about earlier about how, the flexibility here, where if you left early to go to field day, then Saturday you might be sending some emails out or, taking care of catching up, whatever got missed. So that's it. We have a very mutual understanding here that yes, you need to take care of your kids and your family, and that in the time, whether it's at 8 o'clock at night after you put your kids to bed, or if it's at 5 o'clock in the morning, or if it's on a weekend, that everybody makes up for that work and that's it. And that's just the way it is here. And that's what I want. And I want all the women who work here to feel that freedom and I think it relaxes them, and I think you get the most productivity out of your people when you have that flexibility with them, especially when they're working moms. So
yeah, absolutely. And just being able to, get on the computer at 8 p.m. Sometimes you can get more done in a half hour at 8 p.m. than you can in the middle of a day because there's interruptions or things come up, or there's no really emails coming in, so you can focus on what's already there. So sometimes you think like, oh, I'm working, it's like 8 o'clock, but it doesn't matter. You're getting more done in that time, and that's how I feel about a weekend once in a while. If I'm working for an hour or two on a weekend, I get so much done. It sets me up for the week. I don't have to feel behind on Monday at 8 a.m. So I think it's worth it, knowing that also when I need to pop out a couple hours early, I can do that without a problem. So I think it's a nice balance there.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we like to wrap up by asking our guests what they're doing to build a strong foundation this week, this month, or this year. I think that goals and being purposeful with your time, like you've mentioned a lot, I feel the same way, that a lot of my day is scheduled and planned because otherwise the day will go by, and then weeks will go by, and months will go by, and then years will go by that you didn't get those things done that you wanted to do. And I don't like that. I want to accomplish what I want to accomplish. So I plan for that and I execute on that. So with that being said, I think goals are super important, and I'm curious to see if you have any goals for this week, this month, or this year.
Well, for this week, I'm just looking to get through it at this point. No, I'm just kidding. But realistically, I think the weeks are, it's the building blocks for the bigger things. So for me right now, I am going to be running a marathon in October. So my 5th one, it seems. So I'm working, every day towards that goal. So that's something that's exciting and coming up in a few months. But then also I was thinking, I saw somebody recently, they graduated with their doctorate, and not that I'm doing that so fast, but I said, it's been a long time since I've done something where I've, either done, I like formal education. I know some people you can learn a lot from just the internet too. And I certainly do. But sometimes I like that formal education, that certificate, that license, that whatever it is. So I'm starting to kind of have some ideas brewing on something that for the next thing that I just want for me. It may not be necessary for this role or this job, but I don't care. Yeah. So just always looking to learn something, and just keep just keep learning and growing. So
I love that.
Yeah. So
I love that.
We'll see what I come up with.
That's good. That's good. Well, I think that's a great place to end it. I think that was a great ending. Yep. And I think that you are also an inspiration to people. Thank you. Yes, you have a very good core values.
Actually, that's something I have to work on is my core. If I had to pick one thing to really work on, it should be my core strength.
I think you are a great human, and I am so happy to have you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me today.
Thanks for being with us today. And we are filming these podcasts every week, so please tune in for the next one.